I'm Carl Azuz. Thank you for taking 10 for CNN 10. We're starting with a sweeping executive order by U.S. President Donald Trump. It reflects a very different governmental approach concerning the environment than the one by former President Barack Obama. He addressed what he characterized as a bipartisan challenge in 2013.
And this is my plan to meet it. A plan to cut carbon pollution, a plan to protect our country from the impacts of climate change, and a plan to lead the world in a coordinated assault on a changing climate.
But the rules he put in place in order to do that are seen as a threat to the economy by President Trump. The order he signed yesterday did away with many of those rules.
With today's executive action, I am taking historic steps to lift the restrictions on American energy, to reverse government intrusion, and to cancel job-killing regulations.
The White House says climate change is an issue that deserves attention, but that it can both protect the environment and provide more jobs. President Trump says his order will bring back jobs in the fossil fuel industry. But some environmental advocates say the new rules will endanger the environment and Americans' health, and that the order will harm clean energy jobs at the expense of allowing polluters to profit. Some of the new rules, like allowing leases for coal mining on government land, will take effect right away. Others open the door for more changes down the road. At least $87 million has been set aside for the city of Flint, Michigan. It'll go toward replacing Flint's water pipes. The old ones are made of iron and lead, and that contributed to a major problem that started in 2014 when, to save money, the state of Michigan switched Flint's water supply from Lake Huron to the Flint River. The river water was more corrosive, and it wasn't treated properly, so it ate into the old pipes and brought lead to the city's residents, some of whom suffered health problems after this happened. The water supply has since been switched back to Lake Huron, and the $87 million settlement resolves just one of the civil lawsuits that have been filed against state and city officials. Some see it as a victory for the residents. Others say it's not enough and they're moving out if they haven't already.
Because I wanted to serve my country. And
Dominique Absel is only 18, but his lifelong dream for his future is dead.
that was my dream, to go to the Army. And now that I can't,
The city he loves is now a source of anxiety, partly because of the water crisis and what has happened to his body since.
I start getting headaches and passing out, seizures.
So you can see all these papers. His family says doctors can't pinpoint exactly why he began blacking out, sometimes several times a week. It means medically he can't qualify for the Army. He isn't even allowed to drive. His blood tests showed very low levels of lead, convincing his mother the contaminants in Flint's water are to blame. But there's no medical proof.
You said you don't know if it's the water. What do you think it is?
It has to be the water. He just stopped passing out because I just stopped cooking with the water.
Absel is one of the children who will inherit the city of Flint, a city that is now a shell of its former self. Realty Track estimates 1 in 14 homes has been abandoned. For 3 consecutive years, ending in 2013, Flint has had the most violent crimes per capita, and about 40% of the residents live beneath the poverty line. Then came the decision by government officials to save money by switching the water supply. It ended up creating a major health hazard, the biggest potential harm hitting Flint's future generations, like 8-year-olds Julianne and Nadia, who play like children but speak in extremes about the water.
What's wrong with the water?
They have lead in it and they have poison in it because the pipes are dirty.
Do you know what lead does to people who drink lead? Joking.
At 8, they notice everything, like the number of times they've had to practice sheltering in place in case there's a shooter, and the number of boarded up houses in their neighborhood. If it was up to them, their future won't be in Flint.
And what about you? Why would you leave Flint?
Because this water is poisoned. If I drink it, I go die. And I don't want to die. Nobody want to die.
From 8 to 18, many of Flint's children and their families worry the town is dying. The burly, soft-hearted young man beside himself because he truly believes he has no future at all.
Yesterday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, an index of 30 significant U.S. stocks, rose 151 points and broke an 8-day losing streak. It's been 6 years since it had one of those. The market did not lose a lot of value. It dropped a little, relatively speaking, each day. But when a Republican plan to replace Obamacare fell through last week, investors got worried that President Trump could have a hard time getting his economic plans through Congress.
You have to have perspective when you look at stock prices. So these 8 days of losses have been the longest since 2011. But look at how far the market has come since the election. You've seen about 2,300 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average since Election Day. The NASDAQ has done very, very well. The S&P 500 up about 9%. So all of this, again, the only story in the markets is Washington, Trump's legislative agenda, a pro-growth legislative agenda many on Wall Street are hoping for. And if that doesn't look like it's going to start rolling out quickly, then I think you have a stall here in the market. That's what we've seen the last week or so.
10-second trivia. A fluid that changes its behavior when it's stressed is described as what? Laminar, Newtonian, non-Newtonian, or transonic? If a fluid is non-Newtonian, it behaves differently under stress than it does under normal circumstances. Two examples of non-Newtonian fluids, according to Science Learning Hub, include cream. When you whip it, it gets thicker, and tomato sauce. When you shake or stir it, it gets runnier. There's a gel called D3O that also behaves in a non-Newtonian way. Handle it slowly and it stretches out like taffy, but hit it with a hammer and it seems to harden and absorb shock. It's been around since 1999. Sprinter Usain Bolt has worn it in his shoes, and its developers hope it can be used to protect military troops and football players.
It's quite widely known as the goo.
There is quite a lot of experimentation.
Messy, sticky.
It behaves in a different way.
So this is a non-Newtonian material. So that means that when you move it slowly, it's very fluid and can flow very easily like a liquid. But when stress is applied to it, so something like an impact, the material becomes instantly more viscous, so it acts more like a solid. Obviously you couldn't just use this inside a protection item. That's the clever part, is incorporating this into something that can be used as a product.
One example is Helmet for American Football has to try to reduce the risk of concussions. We have developed this particular material that is extremely soft. It has to be very comfortable when the athletes they put the helmet on. It has to work very well in decelerating the impact when they bump against each other. We can definitely contribute toward protecting people so they experience less injuries.
It's good to think that we could be doing our part to help.
Two truths about cats. 1, most of them can swim, if they're feline like it. 2, most don't like water. Then again, Feral isn't your typical cat. This unusual animal apparently loves the water so much, his family takes him to the beach. And it's not just the waves he seems to enjoy. Feral's at home on the sand, in the sun. He even seems willing to help when his companions come out of the water and get to work on construction. See, he likes building sand castles. Bet he'd like to go cat boarding, maybe captal boarding, play captal ball. You could take him fishing. For a cat who loves the beach, there are endless forms of amusement. I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10.